and welcome back to Car Culture TV, or as we like to call it, CCTV. I'm Arian,
I'm on it.
and today we have another episode of our weekly F1 series, Pit Stop. So, Mercedes, they've been the dominant team in F1, 6, 7 years now, and they just keep doing amazing. This season is nothing more but more Mercedes 1-2s weekend after weekend after weekend. And their title sponsor is Petronas. It's a fuel company, and they've been sponsoring them for most of their life, and this year they got a brand new sponsor, Ineos. So that's the reason they have their red on their cars. It's a chemicals company, and they sponsor some other sports. So do you know much about Ineos?
Yeah, so Ineos is actually really huge in the healthcare industry. They do a lot with different blood products, hence the red. And it's very interesting, but Ineos also has a car.
Yeah, it's called like the Grenadier. It kind of looks like an old Land Rover Defender, and it's a competitor to kind of a G-Class as well, which is weird because they sponsor a Mercedes F1 team. But yeah, they're kind of out there as a company. It's really strange. And anyways, they first became a sponsor of Mercedes this season, and now there's speculation that they might want to be interested in buying the team. Not really outright, just taking a majority stake of their shares, but it's not necessarily the news we were expecting to hear.
Absolutely. It's really weird to see that Mercedes may be even entertaining the possibility of a whole new name on their badge. They've had such a good relationship with the Petronas oil company, and that's what they're known as, AMG Petronas, and it's part of their livery, it's part of their color. They always have that Petronas blue. It's going to be really interesting, but maybe really cool to see red take over the car.
But the interesting thing is that it's not really even Mercedes that's going to be a main part of the team. So the way the distributions are currently, Toto Wolff, team principal of the team, owns 30% of the team. And 10% is owned by Niki Lauda, which Mercedes hasn't decided what they're going to do since he unfortunately passed last year. And Mercedes owns the rest of the chunk, more or less. And what Ineos wants to do is they want to take the 70% of the company and then just give the rest of the 30% to Mercedes, with Toto Wolff backing out completely, leaving the team as team principal and a shareholder as a whole, which is crazy. But honestly, based on speculation, Toto Wolff recently has been saying a lot of stuff about, I don't know if I want to be with the team anymore. Everyone has a lifespan. So nowadays it's making more and more sense that they might actually back out.
It's really interesting to see, but also like when you're winning and you're on the top, I think it's also really hard to walk away. So it'll be really interesting to see how the rest of their season goes this year, which they're going to win, and then next year they'll probably win. So really I think the defining point will come in 2022.
Yeah, I just think that the biggest point of this whole part is that Mercedes as a company is trying to move to an electric future. They recently just started their Formula E team. They're working on a plethora of electric vehicles that are going to be released. They committed that all of their cars are going to be electric by like 2039. And if they let Ineos take over 70% of this car of their F1 team, it only makes more sense that they are backing out of Formula One eventually to like full send on this whole electric world, because F1 is the opposite of any electric. You burn a lot of gas, high emissions, not reliable. It's not really the standpoint you want to say for a cleaner, better future. So I think in a few years, this actually might be a very real possibility of Mercedes selling the team, maybe to Ineos, maybe to someone else, but I think it'll definitely happen.
It's really possible, and I'm sure the Ferrari fans will be really excited, but it will be a shame if they do leave.
Mm-hmm. So moving on, Sergio Perez, he's been with Force India, now known as Racing Point, for a lot of years. He started his career as McLaren, and the main reason he's racing for Racing Point right now is because of that sweet, sweet Mexican sponsorship money. And, he just now lost his seat. Sebastian Vettel, four-time world champion, is coming to replace him for Racing Point next year, and he no longer has a seat. And he made it clear that he does want to race in Formula One still, but the question is where. So as of now, I think his two top choices are going to be Haas or Alfa Romeo, because those are the only teams really looking for someone of his caliber at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, the top teams are pretty much set. They're pretty much filled, and they're definitely not, looking at Sergio Perez. While he has a lot of potential, he's not had a lot of opportunities to show it. And with the Racing Points, it hasn't been all that exciting because Lance obviously does become their lead driver and gets all the cool stuff. And so, yeah, he could go to Haas, he could go to Alfa. He'll really still be kind of chilling in a midfield team, which is sad because he has potential, but he's going to be stuck there if hopefully he gets that seat and stays in F1.
So yeah, between Haas and Alfa, I think both are pretty viable options. The thing is, in terms of how good he can do next season with either team, there isn't too much of a great chance. Both teams as of now aren't great. They're at the back of the grid. The Ferrari engine is not helping whatsoever. So in terms of Haas, they've been complaining about their drivers last 3 years. Somehow have been renewing their contract every year. But I think now it's more or less certain that they have to get rid of both their drivers. So Hulkenberg's a big pick, and people are really, really wanting Hulkenberg and Perez to come back and race for Haas. They were an iconic duo when they were at Force India, and they have a really good relationship. So that could be interesting to see. But on the Alfa Romeo side, people are saying that Perez might go there because they want one experienced driver now that Kimi Räikkönen is most likely going to retire and Giovinazzi hasn't been performing well. So they'll have one experienced driver with Perez, but who do you think is going to be their next driver?
Here's my take, right? I totally think that Sergio is going to go to Haas. Why? Because Haas is always strapped for cash compared to Alfa, which is really Ferrari's like tiny younger brother team. And Sergio Perez and Nico together can bring in years of F1 experience. And really, a lot of times, and Lewis Hamilton has gone on record saying this, the driver is such a big part of the development of the car, right? They make an impact over year to year to year. You can see Grosjean and Magnussen getting on the radio and typically just complaining about the vehicle, and the Haas has not improved. So it's really time for both of them to switch out, and two drivers that really understand F1 cars and have raced in really fast machines go to Haas, bring in that money that Sergio has, but also the years of expertise to really bring those cars' development to another level.
Mm-hmm. And then touching on Alfa Romeo. So obviously, if they do get Perez, their one experienced driver, they're going to want a rookie driver. And currently, it is more or less an 85% chance that that driver for next year will be little Mick Schumacher. Young Mick. Son of Michael Schumacher, Formula One legend. I mean, we don't really need to talk about him much, but honestly, yeah, I don't know, it's whether Perez really wants to work with a young hotshot like Mick Schumacher, who could completely, Charles Leclerc himself in the team, outshine Perez completely and make him just a sad number two, or he could choose having a really, really good relationship with his teammate at Haas and with potentially Hulkenberg, and honestly, just have a really fun year and a good time in F1, which I feel like that's what he might want more.
Yeah, I think the defining moment for F1 as a sport overall is really going to come in 2022. So if he can make a move to a team, even if it's just for a year and it's a one-year contract, he can always do that, feel it out, and then go somewhere else. I'm pretty certain that Alfa and Haas are going to get rid of their current drivers, just based on their performance on the track and based on the relationship that you've seen between the team and their current drivers. Kimi's retiring, so that speaks for itself, but at least with the rest of them. And so Mick is definitely a young hotshot. Everyone loves him. He comes with a lot of clout, being, having the last name Schumacher.
Yep.
So I think he could really outshine Sergio in the Alfa. And so for that reason, I think that's another motivation for Sergio to not even risk that and go to Haas, where he knows that it's not maybe the greatest machine, but he can really show his ability. And especially putting him alongside Nico, they could take that team hopefully into at least a competitive space.
Exactly. Well, guys, that's all we have for today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and watch our previous videos for more car culture. You can catch the audio versions of this episode and our previous podcasts on Anchor.fm and Spotify. The link for that will be in the description. Stay tuned for more car culture. Thank you.
Thank you.